Hi guys, I'm going away for a week, so I thought while I'm stressing out and trying to work out what to bring, I could actually show you guys how I prepare my fish tanks for going away. So for me, a 1 week holiday is kind of like the sweet spot where I don't need anyone to mind my tanks. I do my water changes weekly. They're all got little like food timers. And generally it's okay to leave them for a week. I could probably even push it for 2 weeks, but that's sort of when I kind of want someone to come by just to check on them every now and again. Now, I have a lot of fish tanks. And because of that, I try to make them as easy to care for as possible. Hence why we have these lovely timers from Amazon that feed them every day. Might be hard to see, but I feed my fish twice a day, and it does 2 rotations at each of those times, one at 8 a.m. and one at 8 p.m. The easiest thing to look after right now, the very first thing I can do is to make sure that these are actually filled up and that they have enough battery to get me through the time. With these particular units, I've probably had them for like over 6 months now, and I think I've charged them once. So I could probably get away with those 2 bars, but I'm gonna charge it anyway just in case. Food-wise, that's probably enough for my tanks. I might fill it up a little bit more though. Same with this one, that's pretty good. And that's got 3 bars, so I can leave that. And this one I filled up the other day, so that one's fine. 3 bars, so that's good. But I might need to just stick that in place. Usually with this one, I have to adjust it every day to make sure that the food is actually going in the hole. So I might need to secure that now. The 2 tanks that don't have feeders are the shrimp tank, which I'm not too concerned about. I fed that one just before and that'll last them a while. I am going to put a little bit of food in there that's going to break down very slowly. I'll show you that in a second. Sorry, the lights are off because these guys haven't woken up yet. And if I'm speaking fast, it's because I'm genuinely rushing right now to get ready. This is what I use for the shrimp tanks when I'm going away. I'll give them a little bit of this food, which is their normal stuff. I can show you that too. But this breaks down really slowly, so it's just nice to put one in the tank and not have to worry about it. And these are the pellets that they usually get. I might actually try using this shrimp snow, not in this tank, but in this tank as a replacement for the Pleco's algae wafers. I've put some in for now, but obviously they're not going to last the week. So maybe I'll try this and see how it goes. I'm not going to put this in just yet though, because I need to do some water changes and I don't want this to get sucked up. So I think what I'm going to do now is my water changes and maybe see if any of the tanks need some maintenance or some trimming. I generally don't do too much trimming or maintenance just before I go away because there's always a chance that it's just something's going to not like it and it's going to go wrong. Whether, you know, trimming the plants too much will mean that they're not soaking up as much nutrients, which could cause an imbalance. Or if I do too much maintenance on like a filter or something, there's a chance that I could kill some of the beneficial bacteria and then have issues with that. So typically just before I go away, that water change and that maintenance is really small in terms of the maintenance. The water change is as per usual, but the maintenance, yeah, I don't want to do too much right now. What I find works for me is to do like a large routine maintenance thing, like about 2 weeks before, just to make sure that I've covered it for the month. Because I find that most of these tanks only need like a big bit of maintenance once a month anyway. Some of them even longer. Now, the one I think is going to be the most work today is the angelfish community tank. Because that one is just like, oh my God. I don't even know if the camera is picking up with all the glare, but it's just fully planted. It's done that in like a week. It's just taken off. So I think what I want to do, I don't want to do too much maintenance. Oh look, that goes out. Wow, look at him. But see how he's sort of got those like rips and tears in his fins? I don't know if they're just overgrown or if, yeah, he's been in a fight. Something to keep an eye on. He's looking good though. But in any case, I think what I want to do here is, I don't really want to do a lot of trimming. So I think I might just get rid of some of this duckweed, clean up the intake of the filter, maybe do some gravel vacuuming because this is always a mess with this tank. And that's about it. Usually if this wasn't like the day before I go on holiday, I'd probably trim a lot of these plants way down, but I don't want to do that today. Also, check out the Vallisneria that's just popped up. It's taken out little runners from the back and just put it all through the tank. It's really cool. But yeah, I want to do heaps of maintenance, but we can't. We have to do little maintenance on this, so let's get that done. Literally a second ago, the light just turned on. I have quite convenient timing for this video. I'm going to start with the tanks that don't need a lot of maintenance. So this one, the axolotl tank that currently is empty, because I'm going to get the axolotl after my trip, not doing it beforehand. That's a terrible idea. And then I think we'll work on the angelfish tank. And then while we're working on that, we'll also drain the shrimp tank at the same time. With this one, I used to have issues with like the filter waterfall situation getting clogged. I've since put a crazy amount of filter media in the back here. I haven't had an issue since. So, I mean, usually I try to clean it up a bit and make sure it's flowing really well, but maybe I won't do that this time. It hasn't had an issue for ages and I don't want to mess with filters today. So we'll drain this, fill it back up and just move through all the tanks. It's also worth inspecting your tanks before you go away, but I'd probably do this like 2 weeks before in that big maintenance chunk, just to see if there's anything that's gone wrong. Like, you don't want any dead inhabitants staying in the tank over a holiday. But even things like early warning signs, maybe your corals are looking a bit funky, maybe a lot of your fish are displaying signs that something's not quite right. Just checking on all of that stuff, which is why I was checking out those angelfish before and the pleco that have the root fins, just to check if there's anything that needs my immediate attention. But considering they're chilling together, I'm not too concerned about that. That's like an issue for when I get back. We're also checking out any fixtures, making sure they're all connected and not going to accidentally disconnect. Big thing for me is the temperatures of the tank. In summer, I have a lot of issues with keeping the temperature low. So what I'm doing at the moment, particularly today, is just blasting the aircon to get everything to a nice temperature. And then I will consider whether I want to keep the aircon running consistently over the holiday on like an automatic, you know, if it hits this particular temperature, start cooling it down a bit. Typically I set that around 26, so it's not going to be running all the time. It's just enough to take the edge off it if we do get some hot days while we're away. But I will check the weather forecast and go from there and see whether I actually need it or not. While I'm doing these water changes, it's also a great opportunity for me to look after my plants. I'm going to take the water that's coming from this tank, probably the axolotl tank and maybe the angelfish tank if it's not too dirty, and use that to water my plants before I go. Because I want to make sure they're not going to dry out on me. Now we can move this to the axolotl tank. Now, the fish are the only ones of my animals that I'm willing to leave for a week, maybe 2. You can hear the Nim in the background potentially, but the birds are going to a carer in an hour or so. The dog has already gone to a boarding place, and so the fish are the only ones that are going to still be here. I've never actually like got a fish store to look after my fish when I've gone away. I've always had a neighbour or someone do it. So that is something I'll probably look at in the near future if I do a big trip. But for now, I will like try to get a house sitter if it's longer than maybe 2 weeks. At the 2-week mark, I'm kind of happy to just have someone stop by, maybe like midway through to check that everything's fine. Because we've had cases in the past where like we've had a power outage and most of my devices on the fish tanks are Wi-Fi. So that can mean that like, you know, temperature controllers aren't working and things like that. Luckily, I had a mate who was able to come by at like 11 p.m. at night. He drove like an hour or so to get here to fix that. But that's why I don't want to go really longer than a week. The reason why I'm happy to go away for a week, no worries, besides a number of things, is because I have cameras set up everywhere. So I can see all of my tanks at any time. I also have cameras for the birds, but obviously we won't be using those today. And that just gives you some peace of mind that if something goes wrong, hopefully they'll catch it and you'll see it, just with some regular check-ins. But of course, if the power goes out, if we have internet issues, the cameras are going to fail, and that's when I panic and get someone to come over. What did I do with there it is, watering can. Oh. For peace of mind though, I definitely recommend like having a house sitter or someone who can look after your fish. Because the last thing you want to be doing is stressing on your holiday. But that's not always practical. Hence why we have all the cameras set up and I've got methods to make sure they're okay. So I've shown you what my fish tanks are looking like at the moment. And this, oh, my glasses are gonna fall off. This video will actually be released after I come back, just based on the timing of when my YouTube videos are scheduled for. So we're also going to include what they look like when I come back. So you guys can see if there's any noticeable difference, if I had any issues, etc., etc. And yeah, hopefully future me doesn't have to deal with any problems. But for now, present me is sort of like, it'll be what it'll be. I'm not expecting deaths. It's more I'm expecting like algae outbreaks or like things I need to fix. Just like the need to do a big maintenance session when I get back. Besides maybe like some small fish or like some shrimp or something, I don't think I've had any deaths when I've gone on holidays. So hopefully we can maintain that streak. But one thing to note is before you go away, if you do have security cameras, make sure they're all working. Do a test, make sure they're pointing in the right directions, that they're all plugged in, they're not going to disconnect accidentally. I've had issues with like the robot vacuum disconnecting things, so I need to make sure I turn that off and stop the routines before we go away. And yeah, hopefully it'll all be smooth sailing, but I need to keep working because I'm on the clock. Alrighty, axolotl tank is done. And there's some extra water from the axolotl tank, so I'm just going to top this one up. This one gets a lot of evaporation, so I want to make sure that it's maybe a little higher than usual just to account for that. And the water for the shrimp tank is ready. So I can start that going. Now for this tank. Ooh, excuse the cords and mess. I needed my laptop at the kitchen table. So this one needs a bit of extra cleaning, as I mentioned. Really haven't given myself enough room for this, especially with the laptop charger. So I'm going to start off by just shaking the intake. Make sure it's not clogged, which it looks good. Don't have to do too much more on that one. And we're going to vac the gravel. My actual vac is broken, so I'm just going to use the hose pipe. It should be enough. Should be fine. My watch is waterproof, but I don't trust it. It's old. So let's take that off just in case. All right. I usually use the other hand, so I've confused myself today. And I think let's put that down here so it's got a stronger flow. Oh, yeah. This spot just gets so much debris. I'll have to work out a way to fix it a little more so the flow is actually in this area so that it stops this build-up. Not sure how I want to do that yet. I do have a spare pump that was going to be used on the saltwater tank, but I think it's a bit too strong. I think we'll have issues if I use that. I feel like the problem with using just a pipe instead of the gravel pump is I seem to suck up a lot more gravel than with the vacuum thing, with the vacuum attachment. And at this point, we're basically at a full bucket. So I think I will leave it there, even though I could do more. Because, yeah, I don't want to do too much just before I go away. Could cause some problems, and the filter should take care of a lot of that anyway. As long as there is flow in those areas, which there's not, but at least it's in the water column now, so the filter will take it out. All right. We can dump this out. I don't think I'll use this on the plants, though, because it's a bit murky. I'm sure the plants will love it, but I won't enjoy the smell. I'm just going to refill that up in a second, so, I mean, you guys don't really need to see that, so I'm going to move on to the next tank. Now, I know you're not supposed to have favorites, but this is probably my favorite. I recently got this Flipper Float glass cleaner, and it is the best thing ever. I think I talk about it in the video about the new corals that you can see here. I'm not sure if that's going to come out before or after this one. It should come up before, but you know, based on timing, I might get this done beforehand. Oh, cool. Okay, I don't know if the camera caught it. It probably didn't with all the glare. You're not probably going to be able to see it now, but the peppermint shrimp, wherever he is, he's usually hiding in the back here, has molted. There's actually 2 of them, but part of his molt's there, and then the head of his molt's here. I don't think I've ever seen that molt before. I might bring my phone camera, but you can see the head there and then the claws are sort of over here. That's so cool. I've seen it with cherry shrimp. I don't think I've ever, maybe seen it once with these guys, but they're always hiding. So I always assume that their molts were like in the background, but it seems like he might have come out here, or maybe he's using this rock now. Well, he might be. Anyway, that's super cool. Where was I? We need to drain this tank and I need to use my new favorite tool to clean the glass. I find like you don't really need to clean the glass before going away because like who's gonna watch? But for me, I know this tank can get out of hand really quickly, which is why I bought this. And the reason this is so good is it's got a little like razor scraper that you can flip to quite easily without having to get your hands in the tank, which I can get like irritation, like hives and rashes from this tank. Originally I thought it was the zoas doing chemical warfare, but it turns out with salt water tanks, sometimes you can just like build up an intolerance to them. I don't get it as often as I used to because I wear gloves most of the time, but every now and then I try to test the waters by not wearing gloves. And definitely don't get as allergic as I used to, but it's still there. So, which is why this handy little tool is so good. I don't have to get my hands in here at all, even if I need to scrape the glass. It's absolutely amazing. But I feel like I'm gonna grab this for my other tanks too. It's a bit more on the expensive side, but it's just so worth it because now I actually keep the glass clean. And the ones that I was using before, sometimes I found they'd leave scratches, and obviously they didn't have the razor scraper. And just sometimes you just can't get it all off. But this can, which is amazing. So it's made a huge difference. But this tank's going really well. I'm really happy. It's currently just a soft coral only tank, but I wouldn't mind stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit. But yeah. But this is supposed to be a video about how I set up my tanks to go on holiday. So that's what we're doing, water changes. I'm also just out of preference for summer. The water that's going in is slightly colder. I haven't had an issue with doing this, even, well, it's actually more than slightly colder. I haven't had an issue doing this even with the shrimp tank. So I'm gonna continue doing it to keep the aquariums cool. Because for example, this one right now is 28.4 degrees. And before I put the aircon on today, it was at 29. Like, this house is a greenhouse. It's not warm in here, but the tank's just like the water, I don't know, retains heat a lot more. Can't remember what the word is for it. So, colder water change, which is pretty normal for summer, but also in prep for going away. So I think the stuff that's still left on my list is I need to charge the feeders. I need to stick this feeder down. I need to feed them the shrimp snow, which I can show you guys now actually. While this is topping up, let's turn you over this way. So it literally just looks like this. Sorry, the lights are still off. I think they're actually going to turn on shortly. But you put it in the tank and it'll break down and it basically turns into like really thin, almost like flakes is what it looks like. But it breaks down really slow and they'll eat it and it's not going to put too much waste in the water column. I didn't end up trimming this one, by the way. I'm just going to see how it goes. It should be fine. Don't think the plant's going to get too crazy. Charging this now, and also make sure you test your operation if you do have automatic feeders, like to make sure that the food is actually going where you want it to go and that it's giving the right amount to the fish. So yeah, so they're just going to get some extra food, and I've chucked in one of these as well for the pleco. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I don't think there's too much point in me showing you the rest of the little tedious things I have to do. I think I'm going to top up the angelfish tank a little bit more. But that's how I go about setting up these tanks for going away. And we go on for a week. I will show you guys what they look like when I get back and hopefully there's no issues. And if there are issues, we'll deal with it. But otherwise, we'll just monitor them on the cameras and they should all be happy when I get back, if not in need of a water change. So we will see you guys then. Shall we do a transition? I think we'll do a transition. All right, ready for the future, guys? Let's go. And I'm back. I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time on this video because the house is a mess and I have so many things to sort out. But it is actually the day after I got back from my holiday. We got in late last night, so I was too tired to film a video. But in good news, all the tanks are looking fantastic. So super glary right now. Most of the tanks are still waking up, so they don't have their lights on. But they're all looking really, really good. The shrimp didn't even get through all their food. I've just given them some more of their pellets now, but they're all doing well. These guys are looking fantastic. The new corals are looking fantastic as well. No issues there. Same with these guys, no filter issues. They're starting to sneak out a little bit now, but it's still a bit early for them. This one's getting some algae on the glass, so I'll have to sort that out, but otherwise fine. This one is super duper overgrown and needs a lot of work. As you can see, like that's with the full lights on, and it's just so overgrown that the light's not even penetrating through. But all the fish are healthy, if not a little chubby by the looks of things. So yeah, it was a success. And sorry if I'm looking like a mess right now. As I said, I'm in a rush. I don't have time to put on makeup for this video. But I hope it helped you in some way and helped alleviate some of your fears of leaving your fish on vacation for about a week. I'm gonna do some water changes now, do some major trimming, just get the tanks back in order. As I said previously, I didn't want to do some big trimming before I went away in case it caused some imbalances. But now I am more than happy to do a lot of trimming. I think I'm gonna trim the angelfish tank and maybe the shrimp tank, but the shrimp tank might be okay for another week. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you did. And let me know your tips and tricks for going on vacation with fish down in the comments below. Hope you guys have a wonderful day or night wherever you may be, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.